Hi guys, Sarah here and welcome to Novel Expectations. Today I'm coming to you with my 2016 Summer Book Bingo TBR. So what is Summer Book Bingo, you guys might be asking? There is a great podcast that I listen to weekly called Books on the Nightstand that unfortunately, as of the episode that they announced this year's Summer Book Bingo, are ending the podcast at the end of June. So that's kind of upsetting because I really enjoyed listening to them, but I understand their reasons for deciding to stop the podcast. I think they were up over 300 episodes. Anyway, every year what they do is they amalgamate these bingo cards and they get categories, and there's this great website where you hit refresh and you can get a new bingo card. So not everybody's bingo cards are going to be exactly the same. And there is tons and tons and tons of different categories that can end up being in the bingo squares. So I'm going to leave a link in the down bar below to the episode of the podcast that they talk about the bingo, and they can probably explain a little bit better than I do. It runs from Labor Day, which was a couple weeks, or not Labor Day, Memorial Day, which was last week, or 2 weeks ago, until Labor Day. And the goal is to get a bingo line, or whatever you want to do. If you want to get 4 corners, if you want to get a line, I'm going for a blackout, which is 25 books. So 25 books between Memorial Day and Labor Day, I think is very, very possible. Now, the books that I have picked, a lot of them are quite chunky and take a little bit more, but I think a lot of them are really going to bring me out of my comfort zone, and they span the genres. Like, there is something here from probably almost every genre, except for like horror and sci-fi, which I generally don't read. But yeah, so I'm really, really looking forward to these. When I got my bingo card and I kind of did the random thing, I looked at some of the categories and thought, oh geez, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a book for that. And I debated on hitting refresh again to get a new bingo card, but I said, no, you're going to keep the one that you have. So I'm actually going to put a picture of my bingo card up here. And each week, as I do my weekly wrap-up, as you can see, there's a button on the middle square, which is the free space. And I already got my free space, and I picked a book for my free space. Pretty much your free space is you can either leave it blank, or you can just pick any random book that you happen to be reading for that. And every week when I do my wrap-ups, I will show you guys a picture of my bingo card with the little buttons showing what spaces I have completed. I am not doing this like that. I'm going to be all over the place, just because it's more fun that way. So, because that's how real bingo goes. So let's jump right into it, because I've got 25 categories to talk about. So the first category is with food in the title or on the cover. I picked an ebook that I already own, and it is The Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder, and it is by Joanna Fluke, and it is the first book in the Hannah Swensen series. This is a cozy mystery. All the books essentially are about Hannah, and she owns a bakery, and it fits the category perfectly. And the next book, written by 2 or more authors. I picked A Tyranny of Petticoats, edited by Jessica Spotswood. This is 15 novellas or short stories by 15 different authors, so fits perfectly. I'm looking forward to reading this one. It is a YA historical. Takes place in the Wild West. Looking forward to it. This one was a hard one. The category is with only words on the cover, and I Google searched books for only words on the cover. And then I went, duh, and looked at my bookshelf. Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. This is the gentleman who wrote Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, I believe it was, and it was the movie with Tom Hanks was based on the book. So yeah, I mean, only words on the cover, perfect. This is a nonfiction novel, and it is essentially about why we eat the way we eat. It's not necessarily pushing you in favor of vegetarianism, but it's explained like why we choose to eat cows and pigs and not something else. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I have started this a couple times, but never was really able to get through it. So not because I didn't like it, I did enjoy it, just maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind at the time to read it. So I am hoping to get it done this summer. The next category, with a punctuation mark in the title, meaning a question mark or an exclamation point or something. And the book that I chose is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophia Kinsella. I'm a big Sophie Kinsella fan. I just love the Shopaholic series. The first 3, after that, not so great. Remember Me would also fit this category, and it was fantastic. but I've already read it, and I wanted to go with only books that I really haven't finished anyway. So yeah, so that is for that category. Next one, a book that is currently on the bestseller list, and that is The Nest by Cynthia Daxbury Sweeney. One of these days I'm going to say her name correctly. So yes, currently sitting on the New York Times bestseller list. I am currently reading it and loving it, so I'm looking forward to checking this one off of my bingo card. And the next category, a book with a blue cover. The book that I picked was Missoula by Jon Krakauer. It is Rape and the Justice System in a College Town. It is an important social issue that I think a lot of people need to read about and talk about, because rape is all too prevalent within college campuses, and I think something needs to be done about that. This is something that I can identify with, and when I finish this book, I'm not going to go into any details, but some of my own story may come out when I am discussing this book when I finish reading it. So I am actually really looking forward to reading this one. Next up, another easy category, an audiobook. And I read audiobooks all the time. So I decided to pick one just for fun, and it's a slightly longer audiobook because I'm only reading a couple of audiobooks for this challenge. And like I said, I went with a slightly longer one, and it is called Paris, the Novel, and it is by Edward Rutherford. And it is an epic historical fiction novel, and it takes place, of course, in Paris, and I believe it goes from the birth of the city to semi-modern times. So in the same vein as James A. Michener or John Jakes, that kind of epic historical, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Next up, a book that you started but never finished. Now, there are a couple on here that I could categorize as that, but the one I'm picking is one that came off my bookshelf, and it's John Irving's Last Night in Twisted River. I love John Irving. I read A Prayer for Only Meaning in high school, and I adored it. This one I actually saw, it will now be 6 years this summer, in a bookstore when my husband and I were on our honeymoon, because yes, on our honeymoon, my husband and I went to a bookstore because that's the kind of people that we are. And I saw this book, and I started on our honeymoon, and not only did I go to a bookstore on my honeymoon, I was also reading on my honeymoon. And I got about 100 pages in. John Irving is very dense. He's not an easy read by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of thinking involved. You've kind of not really got to pay attention, but there's a lot going on. And I obviously was not in the right frame of mind. This was not the kind of book that you read sitting on a beach by a lake. So I do plan on reading it this summer, hopefully not on a beach by a lake, but maybe sitting here on my couch or before bed. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. It takes place in 1954 in New Hampshire, and it's about a father and son, and something happens from what I remember. Something bad happens. They're at a logging camp, and they pretty much have to quickly take off, and they are on the run, essentially. So, yeah, really, really looking forward to this one again. Next category, set in a country from which your ancestors come from. So the book I picked for that was actually The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. My mom's side of the family, is from France. We traced her ancestors back to France in the 1700s, I think, and they came they came to Quebec, Canada, by way of France. So, this is of course a more modern story, but I still thought it would be a lot of fun to read a book that takes place in France. The next category, this is the one I really had a hard time with, and it was borrowed from the library. I don't go to the library. There are several reasons. I think libraries are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I don't find myself going to them. I have enough books on my own personal TBR and stuff like that to not have to get more from another source. But I had borrowed this book a number of years ago from the library, never finished it, ended up having to return it. So I now bought myself a copy because it was dirt cheap on Book Outlet. And that's All Wound Up, The Yarn Harlot Writes for a Spin by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. It is a book of short essays, if you will, about knitting and life and family, and yeah, they're hysterical. Really looking forward to reading this one. Next, by an author whose last name starts with X, Y, or Z. I took a tiny bit of liberty with this one, and I'm actually going to listen to an audiobook for this one, and it is The Priestess of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. I don't know if Zimmer is her middle name or last name. I'm going with it anyway because it starts with a Z. and I've been wanting to read this book for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to getting the audio and getting into that one. Next category, with food as a theme. I'm like, what book am I totally, I think this was the last category that I had to pick a book for. I was racking my brain. So then yesterday at lunch, I'm on Amazon, as one is, looking at the Kindle daily deals or the Kindle deals for the month. And this book came out, or I saw this book, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want to read it. And it wasn't until I was driving home from work last night that I realized, oh my god, that totally fits the category. The book is called Chop Suey, A Cultural History of Chinese Food in the United States by Andrew Ko. This one just sounded like so much fun. Again, it's an ebook. I got it for like $1.99 on Amazon. It fits the category perfectly. It's history, it's food, it's great. I'm just such a history buff that anything like this just makes me giddy and excited. And you know, you'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, I love history. Or what do you love? Oh, the Elizabethan period, or the Civil War stuff, or World War II. Me, I'm just like, history, all of it, I don't care. It could be the history of ketchup, and I will probably read a book about it. Next category, the free space, which is the one that I've already finished, which was Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McRae. This was a 5-star read. Read it. If you have not read this, read it. Fantastic, fantastic book. Next category, set at or near the North or South Pole. And the book for that I picked is In the Kingdom of Ice, The Grand and Terrible Polar Voyage of the USS Jeannette by Hampton Sides. This is a nonfiction novel about a military ship, I believe, going to the North Pole, essentially, into uncharted Arctic waters. I had a friend who read this, really, really loved it, who recommended it, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. Next category, nature writing. Now, the first book that popped into my head for this was A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson, which I read last year and I loved, and I actually really debated on rereading it. But then I was on Goodreads, and it was again one of those, if you like this, you'll like this. And there's a book that came up that I decided to get called Girl in the Woods by Aspen Martis. I'm not exactly sure what the background to the story is. It is a memoir, but essentially this college-age girl decides to hike across the U.S. from Mexico to Canada. It just sounds like intriguing and the kind of things that she's going to come across. And I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one, and I need to get my hands on this book. Next up, sports-related book. And here's where my love of contemporary romance comes into shine. I was looking at all these books, and I'm like, I'm not reading anything like romance at all for this challenge. So, of course, I had to go with a baseball-themed romance because it is sports-related. And the book I picked is Double Play by Jill Shalvis, the first book in a baseball series. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but summer is romance, contemporary romance time. I mean, I think a lot of people read contemporaries in the summertime, so I'm really, really looking forward to this. Will be such a quick and easy one for me. Next book, An Alternate History, and the book I picked is Hanging Mary by Susan Higginbotham, and this is about a woman who owns a boarding house that John Wilkes Booth stays at. So it's essentially an alternate history of the Lincoln assassination, I think. Yeah, exactly. It is an alternate history of the Lincoln assassination, so this one should be really good. Plus, look, the cover is just gorgeous, and it's that buttery soft. I've been buying so many ebooks lately that to own print books is really, really exciting to me. This one was a fun one. Obscure novel by a famous author. So pretty much what I did was I took Heather Graham because I cannot go 3 months without reading a Heather Graham book. And I went through her back catalog and I found a book that I'd never even heard of. It was one of the first ones she wrote, and it's called Runaway. And it is the first book, I believe, in a Civil War trilogy that she wrote. So it sounds really, really fun. I'm going to see if I can find it at a used bookstore. If not, I'm going to try and pick it up on Thrift Books because I saw they had copies there. But yeah, to me, this book is obscure because it's one of her back catalog, so it'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. The next category, set in a place you want to visit. The book I chose for that was Shakespeare's Pub, A Barstool History of London, as seen through the windows of its oldest pub, the George Inn, by Pete Brown. I want to go to England so badly. I want to go to London. And I had just bought this book because it sounded really interesting, and I thought it fits perfectly with this category. So this will definitely give me a chance to actually read this summer, so I'm really looking forward to that. Next category, buy an author who endorsed the last book you loved. This one, again, I took a few liberties with. Now, when I read Reconstructing Amelia, at the top here it says, like Gone Girl, which drives me insane. Every book now is being labeled like Gone Girl. But that made me think that, again, taking some liberties with this, Gone Girl was written by Gillian Flynn. I'm going to pick a Gillian Flynn novel. So the only one I've actually read was Gone Girl, which I really did enjoy. So I've decided now to read Sharp Objects. So this one I'm really looking forward to. I don't have a copy of it yet. I'm probably just going to pick it up on ebook and go from there. But yeah, this one I'm looking forward to, of course. The next category, by or about a celebrity. Late last year, it was either November or December, I read Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, and I loved it. And I didn't realize at the time when I first started the book that it was actually her second book. Her first book is called Let's Pretend This Never Happened. And that's the one that I have decided that I'm going to read for this one because I adore her writing. I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one. I debated on, I know Mindy Keeling has a book out, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, but to be completely honest, I'm not terribly big fans of those ladies. So I decided to go with something I knew I was going to like, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this book too. Next category. That has been turned into a play or a musical. So I did a Google search on this. Books turned into plays or musicals. And The Kite Runner actually popped up, and it is by Khaled Hosseini. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I've been wanting to read this book for years and years. And when I saw this one, I thought this is the perfect time to read it. So that's the book that I need to get my hands on for this category. Next category, With a Day of the Week in the title. And I actually did a search on Goodreads for this one, and there was a list for it, and I came across this book that I just purchased, The Friday Night Knitting Club by Kate Jacobs. Friday is in the title, fits the category, it's about knitting. It'll be a great summer read. I'm looking forward to it. The next one, That Spans Multiple Generations. I have an audiobook that I bought quite some time ago off the recommendation of a friend that I haven't gotten to yet, and it's called The Valley of Amazement by Amy Tan. And it covers 3 different generations, the grandparents, the parents, and the kids. So I think this one fits the category perfectly. It's an audiobook, so I can listen to it this summer. And it's about, I believe, it's a Chinese family, and I believe it does actually take place in China. So that should be really, really interesting. And the very last category that I had on my bingo card. I am going to be listening to this on audio because I have it on audio as narrated by Sissy Spacek. But I do actually own a copy of it too, so I'm going to just show you the book. And the last category is a book published before 1970. The book I picked was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This one was on my TBR for June anyway, so I decided to pick it up. Now, I forgot to mention at the very beginning of this video, my June TBR that I did a few weeks ago, disregard that entirely. What you're seeing me talk about now is essentially what I'm going to be reading all summer. That June TBR is no longer in play. But this one was picked on my June TBR, so I am excited about being able to get to it anyway this summer because I've been really looking forward to rereading this one. I read this in high school like I think most of us did, and I really remember enjoying it, and I think listening to it on audio is going to be a completely different experience and one that I think I'm really, really going to enjoy. So anyway, guys, sorry that was a slightly longer video. All my videos this week have tended to be a little bit longer. I've been rambly, and I do apologize for that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please, again, check out the Goodreads group below for, the podcast for Books on the Nightstand. They have a link there to the bingo card, so you can go check it out. Let me know, are you guys interested in doing this at all? You don't have to be crazy and read 25 books like I am. You can just read 5 and try and get a line. But I just think it's really fun to try and find these books to fit these categories. And yeah, so definitely let me know in the comments below if it's something that you're interested in doing, because I would love to buddy book bingo with you guys this summer. And have you read any of these books that I've talked about? And what did you think about them? Again, please let me know in the comments below. And until my next video, guys, take care and happy reading. Bye.